1 or 2 of those are delivered by water birth.
There's definitely a trend of more and more women who are interested in having different options when it comes to natural and unmedicated delivery.
Dr. Rest says in the past, both labor and delivery were done in the tub.
A baby has a natural reflex that it will not try to breathe in if it's underwater. It's a natural reflex.
But these days, the tubs are used mostly just for labor. The water temperature is regulated for both the mother and the baby, and the warmth can ease labor pains.
Give me a mirror, I want to see it. No, you don't.
There can be concerns about sterilization, but Dr. Ross says they haven't seen that issue at Brookwood. He says it's important to remember water birth is only an option for low-risk births.
If she has some blood pressure problems or is a diabetic or has certain infections, then the water labor and delivery is not a good option for her.
Nevertheless, with the interest in natural lifestyles building, Dr.
With a special water birth center, it's a growing trend.
Come on. She's about to get into the water. What?
It's a birth plan many moms-to-be are turning to, highlighted in the Jennifer Lopez film, The Backup Plan.
I need to turn over. I need to turn over.
Women choosing water birth will find a much more sophisticated setup at Brookwood Medical Center. It's the first dedicated
thumb to make a little indentation. That allows us to know exactly where to go. At this point, we'll have everything ready to go. So we'll take our cleaning solution, which is just usually a betadine alcohol solution. Use a little sponge stick like this to clean off real good. Get it nice and clean. The next point will be to use local anesthetic, just like a lidocaine type medicine. And we use a very small needle for this. And we would basically use the local anesthetic to numb the skin. So we'll make an injection right there. This will sting a little bit, but most women say that insertion of an epidural does not hurt any more than getting the IV started, and certainly a lot less than a contraction. So you'll feel a little burning at the skin that will numb the area. At this point, since the area is prepped and numb, we will use a larger needle. It is a larger needle, but it does not stay in. We use this larger needle to...
And when I felt down there, I was like, that doesn't feel like a head. It's like, it feels really, like, doesn't feel like a head at all. It just felt really slimy and stuff. I was like, okay. Once her head came out, everything was fine. Everything just kind of went really fast from there. The rest just kind of slips out. I remember hearing my midwife say her head's out, and my husband said, wow, she has a lot of hair. And I got so excited when he said that. I was like, oh. And then she just kind of wiggled herself out. Actually, you'll see my midwife is saying she is moving herself out, and you can see my midwife talking to the assistant like, oh my god, she's like wiggling, and I could feel her wiggle her way out. It was so weird, and I said it in the video. I was like, oh, that's so weird. But she was like, okay, I'm going to come out now. She came out, and I didn't really get a huge close look at her amniotic sac because I could just see her in it, and I was just so amazed at her, and I was just like so overwhelmed, and I just felt so like amazing, and I just like loved her so much right away. It's just so amazing, like when you see your baby for the first time. And when I held her and I looked at her, I was like, oh my god, she looks so much like my husband, and she's just the sweetest and cutest little thing in the entire world. And she had these huge eyes right from the beginning.
All the painkillers, I'm gonna, you know, whatever it is they want to do, want to give me an epidural, just let's do it. Let's have this baby. I just want to give birth now. I'm ready. And I was crying, and Matthew said to me, Victoria, in the calm way that only he can do, he said, Victoria, you know, you can do whatever you want, but remember our intention for this birth was to give Indigo as peaceful and loving and welcoming onto planet Earth as possible, and we want him to know that he's loved and welcome, and we don't want him to come in and experience all these nasty chemicals. And so basically I thought, okay, we'll do it. So he said, let's just try some more things. So I went and I got in the birthing pool, and Matthew went out for a bit, and I did some NLP, I did some EFT where I was tapping on it I was asking myself questions, you know, what could it possibly be that's causing me to hold on to this baby, and I was tapping, you know, even though I'm not able to give birth and I'm in so much pain, I deeply, completely love and accept myself. And then it came to me that I needed to give up all my judgment of other people's births and experiences, because just the slightest twist, I could have been there in that hospital, only Matthew hadn't told me, and maybe I would still be. So I gave up all my judgments of anybody else's birth that I had maybe judged. And what I did was I did Ho'oponopono, where you say, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, and I focused on anybody who I judged, and I sent them love, and I said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, and I thought about their birth, and I thought, you know, everything's perfect, everything happens for a reason, and it's not for anybody to decide what's good or what's not good, because sometimes baby wants to have a certain experience, and it wants to come in a certain way to have that experience in this lifetime. So I did that. So I give up all my judgments. So that was one thing that helped me to give birth. And after I'd done that, I had I had to go to the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom, and then I had this realization that I wasn't going to be. That I had a fear of taking my clothes off and having Matthew look at my backside whilst I give birth for such a long period of time, and you think, well, Victoria, you're an adult, I mean, it's kind of crazy. But when I was a teenager, I just went right back to being a teenager. I went to an all-girls Catholic school, secondary school, and I remember being in the
site with a pen to show where to put the injection. Your anaesthetist will inject a small amount of local anaesthetic into your skin. This completely blocks feeling in the area. When the skin is numb, a larger epidural needle is passed into the epidural space, which is the space outside the membranes that surround the spinal cord. When the needle reaches the correct spot, a fine plastic tube or cannula is inserted through the centre of the needle. The needle is then removed, and the tube is left running from the epidural space to the outside. The tube is held in place with adhesive tape. Your anaesthetist uses the tube to inject local anaesthetic or other pain relief medicines directly into the epidural space. Your anaesthetist may attach a pump to the tube so that you can have a top-up when it's needed. It may be possible to control this yourself. This is called patient-controlled analgesia, or PCA. When the need for pain relief has passed, the tube is carefully taken out and the area is covered with a plaster. This is the end of the animation. Click on the animation screen to watch it again.
Vamos, 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 vamos. Tú puedes, 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 tú puedes. Sí, sí, sí. Sí, 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 sí. De acuerdo. Sigue, sigue, mira, sí. Cuenta alto, ay, no te da miedo. Esto es la cabeza. Ya sale, sigue, 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 sigue. Sigue, sigue, sigue.
Ahí va, muy bien, te felicito, muy bien. Ya, ya, muy bien. Muy bien, ya. Ya, muy bien.
10, 12 y 50. Así dame, bájalo, el goteo mínimo.
Un poquito.
Goteo mínimo, goteo mínimo.
anybody else into the room until you'd birthed at the centre. So, but my mum was really worried because the placenta was so short, and I was holding Indigo the whole time.
The cord was so short.
What did I say?
The placenta.
Okay, sorry, the cord was so short, and so she kept saying, "Oh, Victoria, just cut the cord, just cut the cord." But I was holding out no, we're going to do this lotus birth. So we waited, was it 12 hours?
12 hours.
We waited 12 hours, maybe just over 12 hours. And in the end, I think it was just causing my mum too much stress, and I thought, okay, we'll cut it. And the cord, you know, I thought at least he'd had 12 hours, and I was kind of happy that he'd had that.
So I tied a little bit of cord.
A little bit of rope.
Just cord.
Yeah,
a bit of cord around each side of the umbilical cord, and then just cut it. And by then it was, when a baby's first born, they cut the umbilical cord. It's still like really squidgy, but by this stage, it like all the nutrients, all the fluids and everything had gone through, and so the cord was like just like a bit of rubber by this stage, without all the fluids and everything in it. So it was completely different to the way the cord is normally cut, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to keep the cord attached, because the baby's still receiving so much nutrients, and that's what the T cells and which really boosts the baby's immune system. And when that cord is cut prematurely, the baby doesn't get all that. So that's one of the reasons why we want to keep the cord attached and do the lotus birth. But 12 hours still, by that stage, there didn't seem to be much left or anything left in there. It had all kind of gone through in those 12 hours, so it seemed like, okay, it's okay to do that right.
First dedicated water birth suite of its kind in the area.
It's another avenue for them to have some pain relief and to allow their bodies to relax during the birthing process and the laboring process.
Dr. Nate Ross has delivered about a half a dozen babies by water birth.
We have to use these gloves that go up to your arm or go up to your shoulder, you know, when we're checking people normally, you know, rather than a glove that just goes to the wrist. So yeah, it's a little bit different experience. You have to bend over in the tub. And
Dr. Ross says his practice delivers about 75 babies each month. 1 or 2 of those are delivered by water birth.
There's definitely a trend of more and more women who are interested in having different options when it comes to natural and unmedicated delivery.
Dr. Ross says in the past, both labor and delivery were done in the tub.
A baby has a natural reflex that it will not try to breathe in if it's underwater. It's a natural reflex.
But these days, the tubs are used mostly just for labor. The water temperature is regulated for both the mother and the baby, and the warmth can ease labor pains.
Give me a mirror, I want to see it. No, you don't.
There can be concerns about sterilization, but Dr. Ross says they haven't seen that issue at Brookwood. He says it's important to remember water birth is only an option for low-risk births.
If she has some blood pressure problems or is a diabetic or has certain infections, then the water labor and delivery is not a good option for her.
Nevertheless, with the interest in natural lifestyles building, Dr. Ross sees the same trend in water births. He says with the new facility, he believes it'll continue to grow. In Birmingham, Yenu Adajo, Focus at 4.
Now, Dr. Ross says that the procedure gained popularity in Europe in the 1970s, but it is new, as you heard, to the Birmingham area.
Is between weeks 13 and 26, and the third trimester is from week 27 until birth. If you become pregnant, your womb doesn't shed its lining as it normally does at the end of the menstrual cycle, so your periods temporarily stop. This is because the egg, which has been released from one of the ovaries, has been fertilized by a sperm, and you are in the early weeks of pregnancy. Here we show the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, the womb and the vagina. The fertilized egg has already started to divide in the fallopian tube. It will continue to develop and grow in the womb and is called an embryo at this stage. Here we show the embryo in the womb. By week 9, the embryo has developed and is called a fetus. At this point, most of the organs, including the nervous system and heart, are forming. Here we show the fetus in the womb. By the time you are 12 weeks pregnant, your baby is approximately 6 centimetres or 2.5 inches long.
Okay, I'm going to do okay now. So she said, okay, you don't need to take any drugs, but she said, we've got gas and air. So I took the gas and air, I had the mask on my face, and I could just remember breathing in and breathing. I thought, wow, no, I know now why people like the gas and air. It was really good. But
so I held indigo while all this was happening.
Oh yeah, Matthew held indigo the whole time.
It was very intense, really intense.
It was quite intense, and I just breathed in and out of the machine, of the gas and air thing, and she was able to take out the placenta. And I think
with her hand.
And I think there's no way it would have come out naturally because it was actually stuck to my side of my
to the womb.
Stuck
to the womb.
So that's really the story of the birth, and then obviously I had to rest for a few days. But basically the Sudanese doctor came to see us, and she said she'd never seen that before in her life, that somebody had the placenta taken out without any.
After 2 days, she said she'd never come across a placenta that had been actually in for 2 days, without being taken out, and they thought that
they thought I was lying about how when he was born.
They were amazed by the cord, that it was all dried up. They said, "Are you sure this baby was only born 2 days ago?" Because the cord was so dried up, because we hadn't cut it for 12 hours. They'd never seen that before. So
and usually sometimes the cord gets all kind of, you have to be really careful with it and put disinfectant on it, and you know. But it was almost it dried up really well, didn't it?
They were amazed. You know, like some of them said, like, part of us are just so angry at you for not you know, getting proper medical assistance, and the other part's just like, wow, well done. You know, you just given birth to a super healthy baby. You know, they gave him like APGAR score of 9 out of 10. And
this animation shows how an epidural is given during childbirth. Epidural analgesia relieves pain without putting you to sleep. It's usually given early in labour. Click the navigation arrows below the animation screen to play, pause, rewind or fast forward the animation. You will be asked to either lie on your side with your knees drawn up to your tummy and your chin tucked in, or to sit up on the bed and lean forward. Both positions open up the spaces between the bones in your lower back. Your anaesthetist carefully selects a point to inject by feeling for specific bones in the spine. He or she may mark this.
Newborn will arrive either by C-section or inducing labor. The 19's Mark Lovicott revealing the pros and cons of this trend, Mark.
Eric, specifically we're talking about inducing labor prior to the recommended 39 weeks. Doctors here say it can be dangerous for baby, but for some parents, the convenience factor is the trump card. For Brian and Jessica Yeager, life can be extremely hectic. Both work, and they have twin girls. And another baby on the way. Like many parents, they wonder, how will they manage childbirth with their schedules?
I guess we both have just assumed our families will help us out, but both of our families live about an hour away. It would be nice to have something to schedule around, you know, to know, like, okay, we have this tentative date where we can have people in place where we need them to help with the girls.
The Yeagers are part of a trend, scheduling their delivery, and Jessica hopes it's by C-section.
Right now, the elective deliveries are standing at about 29% of the births in this country, and that's way too high. Back in 1990, they were at 9%.
It's not surprising. Does it make sense? Does it make medical sense? No.
Doctors collectively share worries about any elective delivery before 39 weeks, induction or C-section, with no medical reason for it. In fact, doctors say the practice could lead to serious medical issues for baby, including respiratory and other developmental.
Once it's there, we remove the needle from the skin, like that. And then this is what's left under the skin, about that far, which has holes at the end that allows us to continue to give the medication throughout the rest of your labor and delivery. So once the local's administered and the plastic catheter is placed, we will just tape the rest of the catheter to your back. It'll come up over your shoulder, and we'll hook it up to a machine that will continue to give you medicine throughout the rest of the delivery. Once you've delivered your baby, we just untape the tape and it slides right out. People are always concerned about risks with epidurals, and although there are certainly some serious complications that can happen, most of the time it goes very well without any problems. It usually will not cause any more back pain than women that don't get epidurals, and we feel that it does not cause any problems to the baby, and it's very safe for the mother as well. You might notice that you felt like
it's not like that at all, and it feels so good to be in the pushing stage because you're like, oh, thank God I'm almost there. And because the contractions are really the worst part, guys. Like, it's not the pushing. I mean, the pushing does hurt. I'll get to that in a minute though. I just kind of went with it. My contractions varied anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes apart, my pushing contractions, and they feel a little bit similar to the regular contractions, but there's just a lot more pressure and you can really see your belly just bear down, like it's helping you get the baby out. And I just felt really, really good about it. Like, I felt really, really strong when I was having my pushing contractions. Like, I was just so surprised at how much power I had in my body. I was just so amazed. I'm like, man, I'm a really, really strong person. And it makes you feel so good. Like, it makes you feel really, like, in control. I mean, even though your body's helping you so much, it makes you feel like, I can do this. I'm really strong. And I got such a rush. Like, every time I would have a contraction, I was just like, man, I'm really kicking ass here. And I could feel her really coming down with every push. It wasn't like it was discouraging in any way because I could really feel myself progressing with every push. Like, I didn't feel like she was taking any steps back. Like, I know that they do, but I always felt like, oh, okay, that's fine. I can push her out really hard with the next one. So yeah, I pretty much went on like that for a little while. And I guess the next thing I'll talk about is what it feels like when the baby's head is really, really there. It is really painful. I think it really depends on the person because I've heard some people say that it doesn't hurt. It didn't hurt them when the baby was coming out, but for me, it was so intense. It felt like really like fire, and like I was just, I didn't tear at all, but I felt like I was tearing. Like, I felt like my vagina was just ripping, even though it wasn't. And it just was so much burning. And I was really good at listening to my midwife when she said to slow down. She's like, when I tell you to go slowly, you go slowly.
Get it at a certain time, they'll shop around to another hospital or another doctor trying to get that to be accomplished.
What number is that?
For Yeager, choosing a scheduled delivery is about convenience, but she says she'd never put her baby in any danger. It's a delicate balance for health and for peace of mind.
It's more of a convenience factor for the family because you don't want any disruptions.
Even the American Congress of OBGYNs has taken a stance on this issue, saying it does not support induction or C-sections before 39 weeks. Still, it happens, and many times it happens through either patient pressure or because of competition among hospitals to get a patient to do business with them. Again, researchers here in Madison say that we are doing well. We're not seeing really many elective deliveries whatsoever take place before 39 weeks.
And so in the Yeager's case, what happened? What's the end result here?
We're happy to actually report that Jessica actually gave birth to a little girl, a healthy baby girl, just a few days ago. Quinn and mom doing well. Turns out they could not talk their dean doctor into doing an elective C-section, and Quinn came naturally on Saturday morning, just a few days after her due date. And Jessica tells us she's actually really happy. She let it come naturally. She was a little anxious when she...
And with me today, I have Miranda, who is our mom-to-be, who's about to deliver, and Dr. Steve Rettman, who's the chief of anesthesiology at Seton Medical Center in Austin, Texas. Dr. Rettman, first of all, we want you to demonstrate where and how this procedure is done, but then also if you can kind of debunk some of the myths that people have about epidurals.
No problem. I'll start at the beginning. Epidural anesthesia is a very safe and effective way to provide pain relief for women that are in labor. I have a little chart that kind of shows you where the medicine is deposited, but it uses the same principle as when you go to the dentist and get local anesthetic for dental work. We just deposit the local anesthetic near the nerves that innervate the uterus as well as the lower part of the body, so that when women have contractions and deliver the baby, they have good pain control and are able to enjoy the the labor process better. As you can see, this is a little complicated.
So like a lot of babies, I know my sister's baby came out and immediately she was really went straight for the breast, but Indigo really didn't. And so I went from being really prudish, not wanting to take my clothes off, to having Matthew, Lizzie and my sister and my mum all trying to squeeze my nipples, trying to help Indigo to feed. Yeah. So he didn't feed, and well, what we did was I called my mum and said, do you want, Matthew called my mum and said, do you want to come and see your grandson? So we called her into the room, and so she came to meet Indigo. But I still hadn't birthed the placenta at this stage, and I was just trying to get him to feed, because I believed if I could get him to feed, that it would help me to have more contractions, and then I'd be able to birth the placenta. So I squatted and I did all kinds of different exercises, and nothing would birth the placenta, and at the same time it was really difficult because Indigo still wasn't